Okay, hello all you crazy people out there. My name is Stupid and welcome back to Angels with Scaly Wings. We just had a bit of a heart-to-heart with the Dean, and in this part we're going to meet with Kevin for probably more to do with the backstory of this world than the character himself, because he's a bit of a minor character, but we'll see. Alright, Kevin, what's going on? Are you gonna try and recruit me or something? Good to see you again. This is where you live, huh? For the time being. It's pretty nice for a small town like this one. Are you not from around here? No, I'm just here for the job until the next semester starts. Basically, I'm trying to drum up interest for the college and see if there's anyone around who'd like to apply for it. How's that working out? Well, I haven't actually met any of the candidates out here so far. For a town like this one, it's typically for the young people to get into an apprenticeship it's typical for the young people to get into an apprenticeship to prepare for the future job rather than go to college, but if there's anyone willing, we want to find them. Even out here? Yeah, there's always a need for more highly educated people in the cities as they expand. Cities? That's the first I hear of cities in this world. No, it's not. Adine was talking about the astronomy city earlier. I thought this town was where it's at. Then you've really been missing out. This town isn't really all that special when it comes down to it. I've lived in the city for most of my life. Of course, that's also where the college is. I don't think they'd build one out here anyway. I'd think as an ambassador they'd show me around a bit, but apparently that isn't the case. Your visit is a bit of a political issue right now. The bottom line is that it's also for your own protection. Everything surrounding the portal has been a well-kept secret. People know that it exists and that we currently have human visitors, but the exact location is known only to those who live here. If it ever got out, I don't think this town could face the ensuing torrent of tourists trying to catch a glimpse of you. Travel has been restricted as well. There are strict conditions for people who want to come out here. The only reason I was allowed to is because this isn't the first time I'm doing this job. The people here already know me. Heck, I didn't even know that this town... I didn't know this was the town in question until I arrived and heard everyone talking about you. Well, I'm glad they are taking this matter seriously. They certainly are. I'd like to know more about the cities you talked about, though. Well, I can only speak about the one I live in, but... what do you want to know? I only really have this town as a point of reference, so why don't you tell me about what's different? Gee, that's only pretty much everything. Out here, living in general seems a lot cheaper than it is in the city, and there's much more room for everything. There are green spaces, fields, parks, and farms. You don't really see that in the city. People are more laid back, and there's a bigger sense of community, as everybody knows everyone, which can be good and bad. For example, rumors travel faster and survive well in areas like this one. In the city, you can just make new friends and see what happens, but out here, a few well-placed stories could mean social death. In the city, it's also much more crowded. Buildings pretty much line the streets, and there isn't really much room for anything else. But with the clubbing scene and opportunities for socializing, there's no shortage of potential friends. There are also many different jobs and education opportunities that you wouldn't find out here. Like what? Creative jobs of all kinds, for example, game designers, writers, artists, that kind of stuff. The same goes for teaching positions in those areas as well. For example, if you wanted to learn how to write a romance novel, and I can find a course for that easily. Out here, it would be a lot more difficult, you know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. In a way, it feels like you're always busy when you live in the city. The streets are usually filled with people trying to get somewhere. Of course, there's also the side effect of the apartments, as people tend to go out more and seek entertainment elsewhere. Which do you prefer? In the end, I suppose I prefer the city. That's not to say that I think one is better than the other. Different strokes for different folks and all of that. You know, out here, people probably would laugh at some of the things I do in my free time, but in the city, you get enough like-minded people to even get conventions going about all kinds of things. What conventions do you go to? I go to all kinds of geeky things. Cartoons, comics, and all that stuff. I've even written a few fanfics before, too, since I can't really draw all that well. Aren't cartoons usually for kids? Stupid, I'm disowning you as the protagonist. That's like saying books are usually for kids. Cartoons are just a medium. Of course, there are some that are aimed at kids, but there are cartoons for adults as well. Cartoons for adults, I see. Not like that. Oh my god, I just got that joke. It's not really a joke, but the innuendo. Well, I mean, there are cartoons like that, but that really wasn't what I was talking about. In any case, what else falls under the geeky interest for you? Let's see. I guess you could say I'm kind of a techie. I do like following news about technology and hearing about new developments from the industry. You must be pretty interested in the portal then. Oh, right. I didn't even consider that I could actually go there and check it out. If I knew where it was, that is. I could show you. If you did that, you'd be the coolest human I've ever met. I suppose you'd be that by default since you're also the only human I've ever met, but you get the idea. That joke never gets old. Let's just go. I'll be right behind you. Okay, so we're going to the portal. There it is in all its glory. This looks so much cooler than I thought it would. Halt, state your business. I just wanted to show the portal to my friend here. Well, friend, you can look, but don't touch anything, and no photos either. Do I look like I have a camera? Well, you could be hiding something in your fur. Are you going to give me a pat down? I don't think so. What's that, though? Flyers from our Midwest institution. Oh yes, because flyer, the kind that a dean is, I think is spelled with a Y, and flyer is in the leaflet that you hand out to people when you're trying to get them to be interested in something as an I. Okay. I could give you one if you're interested in going back to school. No thank you, I'm quite happy with my current job, which is protecting the portal from unsavory individuals. What's up with you, Sebastian? Just doing my job, stupid. He could be a spy. Oh right, because I remember now. The reason Sebastian was not a conversation option after the first one is because he's counted as a minor character like Katsuharu and Kevin. I think earlier the game gave me the option to like invite him over later or to not invite him over later. So he's not a full like one of the main 5 or anything. 5? 5. Okay. I'm just doing my job, stupid. He could be a spy. Really? There has been a lot of interest in the portal from the cities. They've made us offers, but for now, we're not doing anything until we see how your visit turns out. In the end, it's just a political power struggle. Small towns like us have to protect our interests. And in the process, reinforce the stereotype of country bumpkins being conspiracy nuts. You know I could arrest you, right? Respect is a two-way street, just saying. Trust is good, but control is better. It's just a matter of perspective. Well, I think I've seen enough here anyway. Let's go back, stupid. That was a short visit. You're not going to leak anything, are you? Of course not. Now that I think about it, I totally could, though. Oh, really? I have some connections and a potential audience. Now you're starting to sound like Sebastian had a point. Not really, I just knew a few people from a writing column at our college magazine. It got popular enough that it was even featured in the local newspaper for a while. Interesting, what did you write about? I'm trying to think of a play on Harvard Lampoon that would apply to, for example, reptiles. But nothing's coming to mind. Nothing special, really. It was just a commentary about current events. I see, so I guess you were pretty involved in your local community then. Not more than anyone else, I think. What's it like to actually live on campus? College in general is a pretty unique period of life, I'd say. Something I've noticed is that some people are not prepared for the independence that they have when living on campus. You're given such a chaotic schedule when you have nothing to do on some days, whereas on other days you're kept busy with classes, homework, and all the other things that you have to do. With study buddies, roommates, and classmates, it's not really hard to make new friends. You also get to meet a lot of people who share similar interests from taking the same classes or being in the same clubs. And don't forget about the dorms, so all these people are always within reach, which can be both good and bad. You could be tempted to hang out with friends when you should be studying. For many people, it becomes the first taste of real freedom and independence. Some just handle it better than others, I suppose. That could be a problem with team projects, for example. There's always someone who ends up never showing up and not doing any part of the work. You see, that happens outside of college too, just saying. For me, it's not really a problem since I enjoy what I'm doing here. I don't mind the homework, and sometimes I read up on subjects in advance so I don't get left behind. Oh my god, you're a nerd. Why am I surrounded by nerds? Why am I one, for that matter? I've even corrected the professor once or twice during a lecture. I think that wouldn't be a good idea with certain kinds of professors. Well, with ours, I was even allowed the privilege of giving a guest lecture for my own class once. Yeah, that's the kind of thing I was talking about. Come on, the learning should be fun. It certainly is for me. I suppose being able to have that kind of attitude makes it a lot easier. Alright, it certainly does. Let's see if it keeps up once you have a few more semesters under your non-existent belt. Don't be so negative. Just for your information, I do have a belt at home. Besides, it's not as if I'm some sort of antisocial hermit who only focuses on his studies. I just know when to say no to my friends. Oh, really? Yeah, we usually get together on the weekends and do cooking together. People can only stand so much frozen food before they get sick of it, and eating out in the city can add up pretty quickly if you're not careful. I see. We rotate the cook every week, but apparently people are looking forward to when it's my turn. I've gotten quite a lot of compliments from my homemade mac and cheese. So Kevin is officially the Mary Sue of the story. Now you're making me hungry. I bet they all miss it, but they'll get to taste it again once summer vacation is over in a month or two. And in the meantime, you're just handing out the flyers. Yep, it's good to help our college, and I can also save up a bit in the process. It's certainly easier than trying to juggle a job and homework at the same time later on if things get tight. What were you studying again? Psychology. There we go with the ICs. I should start a counter for the ICs, except I've already edited like 20 videos and I don't feel like retroactively going back and checking. Go ahead and analyze me right now. Okay, so this is psychology's version of, oh, you're a computer scientist, can you fix my printer? Alright, you just passed the test. I know what you're getting at. Maybe I'll steal that test from you, though. It might be worth trying it out on a few people I know. Be my guest. On a more serious note, tell me something about what you're learning. What, anything? I just want to get an idea of the subject and whether it's comparable to our own understanding of psychology. I see. Well, I could tell you about an old and very simplified model of our psyche that we got taught in introductory classes. Sounds good. Okay, so this model divides our psychic apparatus into 3 distinct parts called the id, the super id, and the ego. The super ego and the ego. The id represents our most basic desires and instinctual drives. That is, our physical needs and wants, like hunger and thirst, as well as our desires and impulses. What's the difference? An impulse is more like wanting to lash out in anger, for example. The id seeks out immediate gratification for these urges. It is in conflict with the superego, which represents learned behavior like cultural and moral rules and societal standards. The kind of stuff we learn from our role models like parents, teachers, and guardians. The superego is the part that forms our conscience and controls our sense of right and wrong. Did I call the regular ego? Okay, I don't think I called it the regular ego earlier. Good. The superego is the part that forms our conscience and controls our sense of right and wrong. It seeks to uphold the standards up to perfection, which most of the time goes against what the id wants at any given moment. You sound like you had to learn a lot of this. If those internalized rules are broken, this misbehavior is punished by the superego with feelings of guilt and shame. This way, we are all compelled to behave in accordance to the rules even if the id tempts us to do otherwise. And in between these two conflicting parts of us, there is the ego, who is trying to mediate. So this is basically what, like real-world psychology understanding is, isn't it? It represents our rational minds that seeks to please the id's drives in a way that doesn't harm us or go against the superego's goals. However, it also serves another master, the external world. The ego includes all of our decision-making and how we respond to external stimuli. Ultimately, it is the one calling the shots when trying to balance the needs of the id, the superego, and the external world. And there you have it, an outdated, simplified model of our psyche. It serves as a good introduction, though. Thank you. Actually, I think I may have heard about something like this before. Why did you go into psychology in particular? I'm just interested in how people work, I suppose. It's also an incredibly diverse subject, so there are a lot of potential jobs. Just being able to understand people is such a huge factor in many fields, and the skills you learn can come in handy in all areas of life, really. When people hear about psychology, most usually think of psychologists or psychotherapists, but they can also be counselors for communities and organizations, researchers, or teachers. You also often see them teaming up with other professionals to influence every part of society. Just think about hospitals, courtrooms, prisons, even schools and universities. They can also become coaches for high-performance jobs when they work with CEOs, athletes, and performers of all kinds. Every institution and every business works with people can profit from the presence of someone who has studied psychology. That's why you can also find this kind of knowledge to be incredibly helpful even when you are a manager or in sales, because those jobs require empathy and an understanding of your client's needs. Understanding people is just something that can come in handy pretty much wherever you go, and that's what psychology is all about. Even in video games, psychology is a huge factor. God, is it? Horror games are an obvious example, but also the tutorials or UI design and how people interact with your game, psychology and player expectations are always going to be a factor. Yeah. I'm not going to ramble on that right now. I think I get the idea. Out here, I think a lot could still be done to improve the image of the field, you know? What do you mean? There is a bit of a stigma against admitting you need help, especially when you're doing fine physically. For them, it's a sign of weakness, so in order to preserve their image, they hide everything away, but locking those feelings doesn't solve the problem. If anything, it only makes it worse. Is that something you'd like to work with? Me? Honestly, I don't know if I could tackle a big issue like that. It's good for me that psychology is such a diverse field because I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with it yet, or what particular job I'd like to have after I'm done with my studies. I see, so you still have plenty of time to figure it out. Yep. Before I came here for my summer job, I was interning at the psychotherapist's office for a month. I could hear about some very interesting and also very tragic cases. I thought I wanted to help people with issues like that, but sometimes it's pretty hard to not be affected too much by those stories, so I'm not sure if it's the right job for me. But you already like working with people, right? I don't know. Maybe interning there was a little too close to the sun for me. If you didn't, why would you be the one to hand out the flyers? It's just, like you mentioned earlier, psychology comes in handy with sales and similar jobs when you have to interact with people. Handing out flyers is pretty similar to that, don't you think? Yes. You seem to be doing well enough with that. You're helping to bring your college and people together, and in this way you're helping both. And it's been a lot of fun too. After all, I got to meet you and even got a glimpse of the portal. Who knows? Why am I hiccuping right now of all times? Who knows? Maybe one of those people you handed the flyer to will turn out to be famous for their work. Now, I think that's a little bit too idealistic, but I get your point. It doesn't always have to be about big problems. Little problems need solving too, like what you're eating on the weekend. Yeah. What about you though? What do you mean? What am I eating on the weekend? Oh. Well, I don't want to pry, but we've been talking all this time, and you know a lot more about me than I know about you. Maybe you can't say anything about where you grew up or what you studied because it's top secret or whatever, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't curious. Well, I don't like talking about myself all that much, and I think there are some things that are better just left unsaid. I see. But if you're curious, I guess it's only fair that I share a few things as well. You know, it's been fun talking about college. I already got my degrees a while ago. It was interesting to go hunting for jobs with my unusual combination of degrees. I know biology was one, but what's the other? I don't know what the other one was. Or other ones, because I don't think he said how many there were. Although it is a little unusual for people to have more than two. But I thought that would open a few doors. Before I got anywhere, our world underwent a few changes that made a lot of jobs obsolete. It's been a rough time since then. Turns out those degrees came in handy after all, because in the end, they enabled me to come here. If I consider all the good and bad that's happened here since my arrival, it's been a vacation compared to home. And it looks like the vacation might come to an end soon. I don't know what's going to happen after that. I can only hope my visit here will have started something that will mean change for our world, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. I shouldn't be such a downer, though. Sorry for bringing it up, but maybe that explains why I don't like talking about it. What's your professional opinion on this? See, now we're asking him to fix my printer again. Well, in my professional opinion as a flyer distributor, I'd recommend a generous application of hugs, but that's just me. You look like you need them. Like you could need them. Go for it. I took a step forward, and I found myself being enveloped into the furry dragon's embrace. With him pulling me close, it felt like a giant fur blanket was all around me as the hairs tickled my exposed skin. After a few seconds, we parted, and he took a step back again. I hope things can get better for you in the future. I don't think I can do anything to help with that, though. You know, I prefer the little problems. It's getting dark. I should probably head out and look for a cave, or else I'll have to sleep in the streets. What are you talking about? Well, it seems like all the hostels are already full, despite the vetting process for the visitors. Enough people got in to take all the available short-term lodging spots in this town. Oh, really? Yep. Despite only a few people knowing your location or of the portal, journalists and tourists are flocking to the towns. hoping to catch a glimpse, or at least find a clue of your whereabouts. That only leaves me with the option of finding or renting a cave for the night, or sleeping in the streets. Not that I'd mind sleeping in a cave, but for someone like me, it's usually something for an adventurous weekend, rather than a way of life. And rocks don't exactly make for the best bedding. I mean, you could, I guess. Really? There's plenty of room here, and it's kind of my fault that you can't find another place anyway. I guess that means you don't share the officer's suspicions about me being a spy. Not really. Hey, you know, I could totally take this room apart apart while you're sleeping. You're not helping your case there. Besides, you won't really find anything special here. As far as I know, I didn't bring anything in, right? Hey, I keep an eye on that copy of Draconic Desire you've got on the shelf there. I might be tempted to snatch it away while you're not looking. Like I'd mind. If you need something for bedtime reading, feel free to help yourself. Oh, I will. Okay, so I learned about Kevin and talked to college, or I talked to Kevin and I'm gonna give up now. Okay, so that's it for that. We are now looking at hope, we are looking at superstition, and it looks like that's it. So, this has been Angels with Scaly Wings. I'm going to cut it off here. 20 minutes is a good video length, I think. A little bit long. I can't complain. I've had videos go on for way longer. In the next part, it's probably time for us to meet with Anna and go to the final night of the festival, and yeah, and Adine. I'm still getting them mixed up. Why did they have to give them both names that start with the letter A? We'll see whether or not we've triggered her bad ending. Nothing spectacular has happened, like I said. She didn't win the contest or anything, so I'm guessing bad ending is on the way. Yeah, my name is Stupid. I hope you all enjoyed that. I really need to go eat now, especially after Kevin was talking about cooking or whatever. And I will see you all later.